welcome to the first episode of this series of the human behind the tech guru. What we are going to talk about it's see the human that is behind the tech guru. Today we have André Blancia. Hello, André. How are you?
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, João. How are things?
Thank you for being here and for your time. I'm going to ask you to do a presentation, simple presentation for this first episode. Who are you?
Okay, so my name is ANDRÉ Melancia. I'm a human being. Do you need me to do a captcha thing to confirm that I am a human being, or just declare that I am? Because I can be a robot or something like that, right?
I trust you. I trust you.
But
No
anyway,
problem.
more important things first. Let's introduce yourself as well. Okay. So
Okay,
you are
okay.
João, but tell me about yourself.
Yes. My name is João Lívio. My main focus, technically, it's modern work. Right now, I'm active in the communities, and this is the first POC. So you are the first one in this episode. So let's see how it's going to be this webcast. Okay, but the intention
So
behind it.
basically, I'm the guinea pig. Okay, that's okay. That's okay.
Yes. Indeed. So, Andre, once again, thank you. The core of this webcast is guide people that is starting right now on his careers, or people that are able to learn with others, sharing what we overcame to get a successful career like you. And you are my friend. Okay, we know each other for a long time.
Near the food,
Yes.
especially.
Yes, I know you like very much pizzas as well, and pastéis de nata. Yes, indeed. So let's start for asking a few questions about you. What are your personal values, and what are the decisions that and your actions that guide you professionally and personally?
Okay, so first of all, that is a very serious question to start. I usually like to start with more fun things.
Break the
but
ice.
but okay, but this definitely breaks the ice. Okay, so um, when people are working, some people have jobs, and they try to do their job, at the end of the day just leave. I'm very picky about things, maybe consider myself a perfectionist or something like that, but I like to make sure that whatever comes out of my work actually comes out okay, which is very difficult because I consider myself a very lazy person. So how do you do that? It's not always possible, but I do try to hold things as correct as possible. So this professionally, on my personal life, I have very different standards, let's say. So my objective is, I've always felt that equality was something to consider. So one of the things that I've strived for, all last 20, 30 years, is for equality, guaranteeing of
Yes.
no racism, no discrimination, all of the things that should make up a modern society. Sadly, we know that this is not the case. In the last few years, 5, 8 years maybe, we've seen a rise of far right, usage
Yes.
of discrimination, of hate, of all of those things, and that kind of destroys a society. So that is That is one of the biggest problems. Actually, one of the most shared posts that I did, and I'm not joking about this. This is literally my most shared post on social media. Is usually Article 13 of the Portuguese Constitution, which basically says that everyone is equal. No one can be
Yes.
benefited or harmed or prejudiced from being of I don't know, specific ascendancy, specific gender, gender, race, religion as well, or social conditions. So I'm blurring this out. It's not in the right order, of course, but
Yes, yes.
all of the situations that make up a human being, and especially one which is guaranteeing that everyone is equal, regardless of social condition, regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, etc. Those for me have been one of the most relevant ones, especially in the last few years, because about 20 years ago, no one actually cared.
Yes.
Everyone was treated equally, but I think the internet has caused people to show more hate, and that hate has pointed to specific things. Even recently, we've seen in the Olympic Games
Yes, yes.
things like hate about sexual orientation, hate about gender identity, hate against transsexual people. This is not acceptable. And this was not even a problem 10 years ago. This is only a problem now that you have, bad people in certain countries like the United States, in Brazil, etc., that have risen to power for hate reasons, and they are promoting this kind of thing. It's not the only case, so obviously
Yes,
there's many
yes.
more countries. But anyway, this is a very serious answer for something that should be a bit more informal talk. Let's talk about more happy things.
Okay. For that specific questions, I know when during the COVID-19, there was a change in the way we communicate and help others, or
Wait
the
a
way
minute.
we work.
I cannot hear you. Are you muted? No, you're not muted. Oh, wait,
I'm
I
not.
can hear you. I cannot hear you. Now I cannot see you. Okay.
It's a little
So
actually.
you are aware that if someone sees this in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, the next generations, they're like, why can't they hear themselves? Why are they muted? What is up with this? So this is a thing that we learned 4 years ago. This wasn't a problem
Okay.
before, but during the pandemic, this was the most thing that we heard. It's technical problems, but yeah. But please
Okay,
continue.
Andre, we are going to talk about happy things, okay? But I'm really interested to know how you manage your work-life balance. This is a very important thing, at least for me, because usually people say work is work, personal life is personal life. How do you connect your personal life with your work? Do you have, are you the same person in work that you are in life or no?
Okay, that is a strange question because I don't understand the definition of personal life. Okay, I know work, but personal life is a very strange concept for me. No, I'm obviously kidding. Work is important. I think everyone, it's a good thing that during the pandemic, many countries have had limitations regarding work, and a lot of people lost their livelihoods. So having work is a good thing. I think. This is a thing that not only is important for you in terms of guaranteeing money to live, but
Yes.
also a personal fulfillment as well. So work for me is okay. I like what I do. I have no problems with that. There's ups and downs, but I like what I do. In terms of personal life, things have changed in the last 5, 10 years, of course. So because even before COVID, my life changed considerably because I was working mostly here in Portugal, of course, but then I started to work mostly abroad. So obviously, I think someone's personal life does change with that. It's not, no one is immune to that, but you internationalize your personal life as well a bit. I have a lot of friends all over Europe, all over the world, in fact, which I do enjoy meeting if work allows me to go to places and meet them. So I'm always happy to meet with friends, getting some dinner, any food whatsoever. In terms of COVID, there have been a lot of changes, and you know this, of course. So when COVID started, everyone has to be at home. Oh, this is terrible. Everyone has to be at home. What we do, what we do. And people were going crazy at home. And I'm like, no, I've been traveling so much. Being at home with my cats is a very nice thing to do. So, yeah, if you have to choose somewhere to travel, just home, be at home, be with my cat for a bit, and then, travel again when I have to. That for me is a holiday. So
Yeah,
I think
okay.
that is that.
You travel a lot, no?
Yeah, it is the opposite concept of most people. Most people will spend their whole lives, working during, normal full year, and then once a year, maybe a bit more, they will travel somewhere and say, "Oh, finally, I have some holidays.
Yes,
I'm gonna travel." For me, it's the opposite. A good holidays is staying at home, not doing anything. That's a good
yes, yes.
holiday for me. So the
Yes, the
concept
concept. Yes,
concept
yes,
is
sorry.
different.
Yes, yes. There is a concept that is that was introduced during the COVID-19 work from home. I never identified with this because um, I think it's not work from home; it's work from anywhere.
Oh yeah, exactly,
Right now, today,
exactly.
you can work on the beach, on another country, on a corporation to another client
Mhm.
from home, and we have people that are the technical guys that go into another countries to work, the digital nomads. So I think it's an option,
It is
and
true. It is true. I had some strange technical situations in which you have to work remotely from hotels and things like that. And I have quite a few. So one of them was this year. I had to work from a hotel, but the table was like this way, and the television sets that they had was very far apart. So I got one of those ironing boards that you can
yes,
use, and I put my computer on top of that, I sat on the bed, and then I used the ironing board as a table. So that was very ironic. But that's not the worst one. I think the worst one for me was even before the pandemic. I was doing some webcast for Microsoft. I can't remember what it was, and I had to travel from the UK to another workshop that I had in Italy, in Milan, at Microsoft as well. And I had to travel via Dublin. This was the only flight for me to get there during the night, so I didn't sleep during that night. And by 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, when there was a webcast that I had to do, so I was in that webcast, but I was physically at the airport, which was still okay, but this was crazy. So I go to the airport in Dublin, which is where I was waiting for the connecting flight. And I'm sitting there in a mostly empty terminal, the new terminal, which is mostly empty during the night. The smaller, older terminal is usually full, but I went to the new one because it was very calm, so I can do my webcast. No one's complaining. And while I'm doing the webcast to the entire world, I get two policemen going behind me and saying, "What are you doing here? Are you waiting for a flight? Can you show us your ticket?" So basically, while this was happening, I was showing police people the tickets and saying, "Yes, I'm waiting for a flight in a few hours, but I'm working now." And they, "Oh, okay, so please continue to work, no problem." They were all very
okay.
polite, but the interruption was very original. So I think this was the first time that the police got involved in one of my webcasts.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
So very good
Crazy
pro.
thing, crazy thing. One of the scopes of this series of webcasts is helping others starting his career and or for personal growth. Okay, when you started your career, do you have a notion because the technology is always evolving and very fast? Do you have the notion that okay, I like this, I want to go to this. It's all about technology, or do you like? How do you started in the business? What are the skills that are most important for starting when you get a job on, or when you get hired?
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. I think the first thing I did technologically was very early on, like 6 years, 7 years old, when I started working with the ZX Spectrum. So, very nice computers. At the time, of course, I'm a kid. I just care about the games. But within 6 months, I was actually reading some books on how to program it. And I found it extremely interesting that you can do programs with that. So I
Without
spent
internet. Without
without
internet.
internet. So there
Yeah,
was a
with the
book, like,
sticks. With the stick.
physical book with paper that you
Yes,
just
yes,
have sheets of paper that you read.
yes.
Something,
I
okay.
know. I can feel
If
the
you don't
pain.
know, if anyone reading or listening doesn't know what a book is, go to Wikipedia. They have the definition of a book. Okay. It's like an ebook, but with actual paper. Okay. So that kind of thing.
Yes, yes.
So I remember getting a book. I think I still have that book about programming, basic stuff, literally basic programming in the X Spectrum. So that's how I got started doing programming very early age, and then that progressed to personal computers, and then whatever had
Yes,
to
yes.
happen. Funny thing is, I was pretty much studying when I started working, but I was always curious about all of this. So of course, during high school, during university, I was always very
Yes.
curious about this. And then I needed to buy something. I'm not going to mention what it is because it was basically a car, but I felt the need to acquire money. And to do that,
Okay.
a lot of my friends at the time were delivering pizzas, which is reasonable. You are part of the foods industry and you are delivering pizzas, which nowadays is perfectly normal. But 20 something years ago, this was less normal. So I thought, well, why not do that? So I did. I started delivering pizzas. I actually learned how to ride a motorcycle, crashed a few of them, but that's a different story.
Yes.
And then within 1 month or something, I did something like double shifts. I got all the money that I needed. And then I pretty much quit. I have the money I need. I don't need to be here anymore. And it is a hard job. And it was in the winter. So I thought, well, let's just quit. I have the money that I need. And then within, I don't know, 2 weeks, something like that, I got offered a job in IT. I was 20 years old at the time. So I thought, yeah, sure, that seems interesting. A part-time job at the time, which turned into a full-time job for 5 years. And then from there, you just continue to work different job, different job, different job all the time, and things progress. So that was quite fun. But your question comes in two parts, right? So
Yes.
first part is, how did I get started with this? But the second part is, how do you learn? And that is an impossible question these days. Okay, so in the old days there were things called CDs, and then
Yes.
there were,
Indeed.
and even before that there were diskettes. Okay, yeah,
Yes.
if you were lucky enough, these were about this size, like 9 centimeters times 9 centimeters squared, something like that. But older than that, there was even older ones, like bigger ones, which were
Yes.
like a
Yes.
sheet of paper. So, and before that were punctured cards. So let's not go there because I have no idea. I'm not from that time. Thank you very much. Uh,
I'm
so
not calling you an old man.
the thing is that at the time we didn't have that much information, and yes, there was piracy and things like that because there was no internet. This was the only way we can get software. It was someone copied some software from someone else and someone else, and we got to get information. And then there were something called BBSs, which allow you to connect to some phone number and share software via a phone call to somewhere else. It's
Yes.
like
Yes.
the
Indeed.
the early days of the internet, so before the internet. After that, the internet started to come along. It was much easier to connect to anywhere in the world to get the software and immediately. And by the time, mid 90s, people were starting to use the internet properly. However, the things that we know now, like Stack Exchange or Copilot or any of those that help
Yes. Yes.
people cheat on your job and get it done quickly. Those things only came along in the 21st century. Okay, so before that, there was nothing of that. I do remember one situation where there was Office, Office maybe 2000, maybe Office
Oh,
XP, I don't know, something really old.
MTTP protocol. Yes, yes.
These
The user
were these
groups.
these were really old stuff. And I remember that Office software had some kind of bug at the time. And I know it was fixed with some service pack or something like that. But at the time there was a bug that was a problem for the people who were using it, because it basically crashed the computer. So I spent quite a few days, no, not a week, but a few days trying to fix it. At the time I couldn't go to the internet and say, I have this problem, can someone help? Or search some forums. None of that existed. So you had to fix the problem yourself, which, it was okay. It was a good challenge. I think that kind of problem solving that was needed at the time, because there was no other way, was kind of important for me, because nowadays, everyone just goes online and finds the answer and the job is done. And people don't think so much about how to solve the problem, other than to just write a nice prompt that fixes it. That really isn't the solution. The solution is trying to find out why the problem exists, trying to find out ways to fix it, because someone else has fixed it already. But what if you are the first one to get that problem? And that happens a lot. You have to wait 2 months until someone on the internet said, I had this problem, I
Oh,
fixed
okay.
it. Yeah, why don't you fix it yourself? Just diagnose it and try to fix it. And you know that this is a problem that people nowadays have. They don't fix anything. They just wait until the next version, or if this is like a phone or something like that, or even a computer, we need to fix it. What do? We just reinstall the computer or get a new computer. Find out why your screen is green, blue, yellow, red, whatever is happening to your computer, and fix it. Don't reinstall the computer just like that. Figure out why, because next time this might come along again. So fix the problem first. Okay. So for me, this was one of the biggest things to actually learn and to progress in terms of IT knowledge, was to fix things for myself, and I
Excellent.
think that
Yes,
helps a
yes.
bit. And you have the
Okay.
same you have the same
Yes,
experience.
yes,
Come
the
on.
same background. Yes, yes. That is was very important to me also, because programming, it's solving problems. At
Mhm.
the end, you are selling the problems you solve.
Yep.
Yes, yes, and that's the main question here. That is
And you get
a
more
very
problems.
interesting topic. Yeah. Uh, so, André, I believe when the technology started evolving, did you have any mentors that are um, important to you on these years?
Okay, so that is a complicated question. I think that in the first few, during my school years, high school, even before that, I think it was very difficult, because we talked to people. Everyone had a bit of knowledge, so it was very important to get knowledge from everyone. It's not right to say, "Oh, I know more than you do," and that's it, because anyone who has that posture will not succeed, because they will, oh, I'm very important, I know everything. No, I might say that I knew a lot during that time, because I asked everyone, what do you know about this, what do you know about that, and I got a lot of knowledge for myself. I obviously wanted to share that knowledge as well, but this was before the internet. This was very important. We needed to acquire that knowledge, and it was only through talking, like we're talking right now. When other things came along, so in the year 2000, 2000 and a bit, there were a few things that started to come along. So obviously I was old enough to be working, and one of the things that came along was a lot of Microsoft events. And this, you've
Yes,
been
yes, I remember.
you've been to
Yes,
quite a
yes.
lot. The food was especially good in the year 2000, 2000 and a bit.
You are
So that
always talking with, about food.
priorities. Have you seen this? This is the
Priorities.
priority.
Yeah.
Like, if you go to prehistoric times, the priority is making sure that you have enough food. That
Yes,
was
yes.
always the first priority. It wasn't to get a new iPhone or whatever people have, but
Indeed,
it was
indeed.
to get food first and then decide on the rest. And I think that during last 25 years there were a lot of technical events at Microsoft. I finally got the chance to see other people outside of my work, outside of my schools, etc., that actually knew more than I did. Not because I'm bragging that I know more than other people know, quite the contrary. I didn't really know much, but I thought, well, I'm learning about this. I'm finally learning all that I have about a specific topic. I'm very happy with this. And then I discovered that someone else knew a lot more about many other topics that I had no idea about. So this opened up a lot. And this is not about the internet or anything like that, because these events were actually in person. So you went there, you
Yes,
got
yes.
some food, you got some knowledge, you went back home, which was a great idea. Over time, at least here in Portugal, but other countries are similar, maybe with different time frames. People started to meet not on a, let's say, Microsoft level. And by the way, when I mean Microsoft, there's a lot of Linux companies like Sybase at the time and
Yes,
many
yes.
others that actually shared a lot of knowledge in their events, and these were always very interesting to attend. But then we started to have user group events, which I enjoyed going to a lot of different user groups from Microsoft and from other technologies as well. And then eventually, 10 years ago, maybe a bit more, we started to have our own user group events because we felt, oh, there's a need to add this or that topic to user groups. So it was still important for us to attend other user groups and to access those sources of information. But at the time, we felt, oh, there's a need for this kind of user groups. I don't want to go into the details of specific user groups, etc., but I felt that this was important. With time, I discovered a next level after that, which is in many of these events, maybe starting 2005, something like that. I remember going to things like the tech days. You remember the tech
Yes,
days?
yes, yes. Tech
Uh,
days,
so
yeah.
these were in different places here in Lisbon over the different years. But I remember going to events with 10 tracks, and I thought this is like an
It's
epic event at the time,
amazing.
right? So this was an amazing event. We got to talking to people who were not from here, were not
Yes.
from Portugal, Lisbon, even different cities, different countries, and the knowledge that we expanded to say, oh, we know a lot more from these local people. Suddenly, we know a lot more from these international people, and now that's the international part of things. We discovered that you are a very small
Yes.
item in the middle of the all of the knowledge, and this is a very positive thing because from that point on, maybe 20 years ago, I started to talk to more and more people over time, many of them international, that were giving us the possibility of knowing more, interacting more. And of course that brings it to modern days where everything, I'm fast forwarding a lot here, but to modern days where everyone knows each other internationally. We have a very big tie with people from Brazil because there's a lot of events going on in Brazil. So I can tell you that I'm going there next week, but most of the
Okay,
people that
okay.
I met that I will meet next week, I actually met them online for many years, and we were already good friends just remotely. We just never met in person, and this is crazy. You know
Yes,
this
yes, yes.
this feeling, right? We
Yes,
never met in person, but we know each other for many
for a long
years.
time, yeah.
It's very strange, but in terms of sharing knowledge, I feel it's so epically important. But anyway, we're digressing from the questions.
Yes,
Let's go
yes, yes.
back. Let's go back on
But
track.
you are talking about very interesting things. I remember for me leaving the comfort zone. It was very important in my career. I remember there were challenges that I had. I was in fear, but I go there, okay, and I overcame the thing, and this was very important to me. Live in the comfort zone and go ahead and do things, do stuff with fear, without no fear, just do it. It was
Exactly.
very important for me. But what we have you talk about the early days, and you make a bridge to the current days. Uh, at this time, what is the most important thing to learn and to get involved in the technology? What advice do you have for someone that is starting? Because in my 30 years career, I had to start all over again, at least 2 times. Okay. What is the most important advice, not advice, that you can give to we starting right now in this context?
Okay, that is a very good question, and I usually get this kind of question, in mentorship and in other things. It is a very difficult question to answer, but let me give you an example. Your background says Windows 98 setup, okay? How many people these days actually experience that, okay? Because, even Windows 95, Windows 3.1, maybe even
Yes.
before that, which I'm not that old, but okay. But
No, no.
MS-DOS at least.
I
That's
missed that.
that's
Yes.
this is okay because that is actually a lot of years of learning experience that most people starting these days do not get. Okay, and correct me if you don't agree, but I think that at the very beginning we were experiencing very basic things. Oh, I have a disk. Oh, I have a diskette. Oh, I need to understand how to connect a printer to a parallel port or a mouse to a serial port or something like that. So this was the very basic. And in my background, which has always been electronics, I'm always curious to understand how these things actually work. So that curiosity actually helps to learn more and to understand how CPUs work internally, the actual processor internally. How does that process
Yes.
all the instructions, assembly code, and things like that? Now you might think, but no one needs that. It's actually wrong. People do need that kind of information. I'll give you an example for that. If you are aware of how assembly works, how you can optimize instructions in a CPU, you
Yes.
can do two different things that are very important. One of them is if you have databases or any other kind of intensive processing, you can optimize it. Okay, so you know
Okay.
exactly
Yes.
how the lower layer works, so you can make the higher
Yes.
layers optimize for that. And if you use things like Python these days, which everyone uses, that is not very optimized. Okay, you need to use C or C++ to be as optimized as
Yes.
possible. That is why many games use C++ because they are more low level,
Low
closer to
level.
the
Yeah.
assembly, right? So that
Yes.
is one reason. Another reason is I know a lot of people over the years. I've interviewed hundreds of people. I've talked to a lot of people who are in multiple areas, system administration, programming, I don't know, cybersecurity especially, that don't know anything about assembly. Okay, and when I mean assembly, I don't just mean assembly. I mean a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
ranges of knowledge that you acquired in the 80s and 90s, but you don't acquire that knowledge now, which is still important.
Yes. Yes.
An example of that is cybersecurity. Okay, people go to cybersecurity courses and they know all of the legal aspects of cybersecurity, but are you a lawyer or are you a technical person? Oh, I'm a technical person. So why do you care about the legal stuff? It's still important, but it's not the critical part. You should understand the technical part mostly. And for instance, most cybersecurity courses nowadays is more than 50% lawyer talk. Okay, that is not very
Yes. Yes.
useful. Okay, it's like,
I
yeah,
agree.
we can
Yeah.
prevent cybersecurity if we do this, this, and this. Well, yeah, okay, but what does that correspond in practice? Okay, it's still important. Not saying it isn't, but we need to focus on the knowledge of a cybersecurity person, an actual technical person. And to do that, if you don't know assembly, you will not understand how things like Spectre, Meltdown, and many of the other ones actually work. Buffer overrun, for instance, it's a very obvious attack. It's one of the most used attacks in the world, but unless you actually know how assembly instructions work at a low level, you'll never be able to understand it. How do you protect against yourself? against that, right? It's just impossible. So all of these skills from the very low level, you actually need to learn it, okay? I'll give you
Yes,
another
yes.
example, which is a complete parallel, okay? Do you fix your own car?
Uh, yes, sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yes. I
Exactly.
had a problem with the brakes, and I was digging in the brakes, okay, and try to see how it works. But the old cars don't have this specific technology. But I was seeing, oh, okay, oh my God, I'm going to the mechanic to do this.
Oh, I didn't get to that level. So in terms of brakes, I remember, and this was about 20 years ago, maybe more. I needed to change the brakes, and I was lucky enough or fortunate enough, and for some reason, to be going to some garage where they were doing this, fixing brakes for someone else. Okay, so I was there for a different reason, and I was looking and seeing some guy, some mechanic, actually, hammering the brakes and
Yes,
things, and
yes.
I'm like, okay. So I'm assuming that there's some engineer that designed these brakes, and these brakes are, they are sturdy, they are strong, but
Yes.
is it reasonable to keep hammering that thing out? Because that is going to protect us from killing ourselves, okay? Is
Yes.
hammering things a normal situation? Sometimes it is, by the way. From an engineering point of view, sometimes it
Okay,
actually
I
is.
didn't know that.
However, I felt, well, maybe if this guy is going crazy fixing the brakes, maybe I don't want my brakes to be fixed by that guy. Okay. Maybe I want to fix them myself to be sure that if something goes wrong, I fix them. Okay. And I guarantee that all the security safeguards are in place. That also went terribly wrong, but let's not go there. Once, but let's not. Well, actually, more than once, but let's not go there. But the truth is that I've decided with friends that actually knew how to do it, I've decided let's replace my own brakes, let's replace my own disc pads, the actual disc thing
Yes,
and the
yes.
pads, both things. So I thought, well, at least I would like to learn it. It doesn't mean that in the future I'm not going to outsource it to someone else, okay? Because sometimes, you don't have time to fix things. Just let someone else. Maybe you trust someone else. Someone else will do it. But things like changing the oil in the car, that's pretty simple. You cannot screw this up. Well, usually anyway. And you thought, well, at least I want to do this once. So I did this once or twice in my cars, but then I decided, nah, it's just too awfully dirty to do it myself. And there's people who have the better equipment that I do, and they don't get themselves so dirty as I did. That I spent, 1 hour changing the oil and like 5 hours cleaning everything. And yeah, that feels like the wrong usage of things. So this is how it works. So there are, but having that knowledge is important for me. Why? Because this is the kind of knowledge that tells me if there's something wrong with the car, then I can diagnose why that problem went wrong. Okay. And
Yes,
when I mean
yes.
a car, I mean anything else. Okay. Anything else in technology. The light bulb doesn't start. What's the problem? Well, maybe there's a fuse. Maybe there's, I don't know, something else. Maybe I didn't pay the electricity bill. That's also a problem. So you have these kind of problems, but you need to fix them. It's not like you get there, oh, it doesn't work. Let's call some guy to come here, pay a fortune to fix something that's obvious, like changing a light bulb. Okay, this is the kind of world we're going for, and this is kind of wrong. We need to be self-sufficient. There was a joke on the internet that sometime, I think it was the 50s or something, they said, oh, the manual tells you how to change the oil and check if the battery has
Yes.
things or whatever. And then nowadays, the manual just says don't drink the battery acid or something. Okay. So obviously, the world has changed a lot in, I don't know, 70, 75 years, that people are dumbing. How do I put this in a nice, politically correct way? People are getting stupider. Okay. So
Okay,
there's no way to make it
okay.
better. I have to say this: people are getting stupider because it's not about people. It's just about the environment in general that fosters a logic where people, it is okay to be stupid. It is actually not,
Yes,
okay?
yes.
So if you were in the 90s or the 80s and if you said something stupid, you were like, oh, you were an idiot. Ah, okay.
That's
And
very good because the stupid questions are the ones that will will not ask, but can be very good questions.
But that's a different thing. That is you make a good point. That is actually a different thing. If you have questions, no question is a stupid question. That is different because you are trying to acquire knowledge. Why is the sky blue? Is something that most kids will say. We think, oh, that's a stupid question. But then you start thinking about it. Oh, it's not stupid at all. Why the hell is that blue? And
Yes,
then
yes.
there's a lot of physics and chemistry and a lot of quantum stuff involved in the fact that that thing is blue, and there was a reason for that. But
Yes,
so
I will never forget when I was in the course for training people. The trainer say one thing to me. Uh, adult people don't ask stupid things. They have points of view. Yes,
so
yes.
but
I will never forget
mhm,
that sentence that
mhm.
you mentioned there, because it's important. It's important.
Yeah.
It's nowadays. I think no one want to see the other side with another point of view, and engage with another point of view, because everyone can bring a new perspective to a project or to a meeting or something like that. Um,
So
and
you, the fact that you are mentioning about questions is very important because I was saying, people do stupid things now and say stupid things, and these are, I'm sorry to say, but some of these are absurd. Now, asking a question, honestly, humbly asking a question, why is the sky blue, is perfectly acceptable. Okay, so this is a question that, why is the computer something? I don't know, whatever
yes,
question
yes.
might be. That is legitimate. That is a valid question. Why is something like this? That is a valid question. It's not a stupid question. These questions are not stupid. These are obvious. Unless you've worked many years in this area and suddenly you are asking a question that is actually absurd because you didn't pay attention or something, that could be considered bad. But the stupidity that I was mentioning is quite different. So an example of this is there are people who actually believe the earth is flat, okay, which we've seen prove is completely false, okay. The earth
Yes.
is obviously round. We have proof. We can look at things and see that there is a horizon that goes down so that we can see it, okay. There is a theory, and I usually joke about this, but this is true. There is a theory which is there is the flat earth theory, but there is the flat sun theory, okay,
Ah,
which I
okay,
find
okay.
it very interesting, okay. So think about this. What if the sun was flat? Okay, we know it's not, okay. Let's not
Yes.
start. So we're doing this video and suddenly someone's going to say, oh, this guy thinks the sun is flat. No, obviously not. Okay. There's physics involved here. But what if the sun was flat? Can we prove it's not? And the answer is, oh, that's much more difficult to prove because we would have to be on Earth looking at the sun, which is, let's say, flat, okay,
Yes, yes.
and going somewhere else in a triangular fashion to look at some other angle of that sun to figure out that that actually has a round mass. Is it possible? Well, we actually would have to wait 6 months. So if you want to go into space, wait 6 months in the same place, and then look around. That's fine. But we don't have the physics even for that now. The acceleration of ships and things is actually not at that level. We find that of course it is. We've sent things to Mars. We've sent things to the moon,
Yes, yes.
doing amazing calculations. But it's not as easy to say, oh, let's drive on the wrong side of the road, let's call it like that, and go back on our orbit and just find a way to get to the other side. It's not as easy as you think. And for that, then you would be able to prove that obviously the sun is round, not flat. But from a point of view of conspiracy theorists, flat Earth is easy to prove it's false, but flat sun is not as easy, okay. And this is the problem because at least get the theories right, get the right conspiracy theories. This is obviously false. At least do one that makes you feel a bit more intelligent with
Yes.
the reasons I've just described. That is at least a more intelligent one, okay. And there's many other theories regarding, obviously, regarding aliens, regarding so many things. um, we've seen, and I don't want to expand on this that much, but we've seen so many people that say completely absurd things about technology, even simple things. You go to videos on YouTube, and there are so many people saying, you ask them about countries, you ask them about doing simple math like 10 plus 10, or I don't know, something like that. And of course, some of these videos are skewed. Okay, people get nervous in front of a camera and they don't think straight. That's that's valid. Okay, however, some of the answers are just absurd because people, not only do they not know, but they are proud of not knowing. Okay, and that for
Yes,
me is a
yes, yes.
very wrong thing.
I can
Okay,
understand you. Yeah.
if you don't know, you can be humble to say, well, that
I
is a
don't
good
know.
question. I really don't know. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you brag about, I don't know, I don't care, etc., it's one of those kind of attitudes that's, let me give you a very basic idea of this. In the 80s and 90s, there were a lot of people in school with you, with me, that said, oh, we don't care about school, we don't care about anything. Where are they now? Most of them are doing much worse in life than we are now. They are with crappy jobs. They have, mostly manual labor jobs and things like that that are difficult. Okay, they are still valid jobs, but they are much more difficult than an IT job, for instance. Okay,
Yes,
and
yes.
they get paid much less than we do in most cases. Okay, why? Because we bother to learn about technology. We bother to learn about interesting things because we were curious about science. We were curious about technology, but we cared about these things, and they just said, oh, I hate math, I don't want math, I don't want anything, etc. And then a lot of people end up poorly because of that. Now, this is one of the problems with humanity, that's in the last few years, especially with TV and things, it feels it's okay to be a rebel and things. You're okay to be a rebel, but just learn things. Okay, the best example of that is, you consider Queen, the band. Okay, you
Mhm.
have Freddie Mercury, which obviously, actually, all of them had university degrees. Okay,
Yes,
they
yes.
didn't use them, they didn't need to use them, but one specific case is Brian May. So he's
Yeah,
an
yeah.
astrophysicist. Okay,
That's a physics. Yeah.
does he do much of it? Probably not. Okay,
Ah, yeah.
I know people who are doctors, who are um, other very important professions, but they choose to do something else. That is not wrong. That is actually having a fail-safe job to go to.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
it's not mocking the job. Okay, I take great consideration about people and knowledge. Okay, I don't really care that much that people have a university degree or something like that. It's not about that. But if you consider most of the people that made a difference in the last 3,000 years to humanity, most of them did not have a university degree. They didn't care, but they were seeking the knowledge. Okay, they were looking for the knowledge, and that is the important part. It's not about having a certification. Like nowadays, everyone
Yes,
has
yes, yes, yes.
certifications and things. I have a lot of them, to be honest. It's not about that. But if you don't do anything with those certifications, who the hell cares? You need
Yes.
to actually have the knowledge. And if you go to a job interview, you'll say, look, I have a certification. Can you do this? And that person will not be able to do it for some reason. And they will say, well, you have the certification, but certification means nothing in this case because
Yes,
you
yes.
you didn't fix the
Indeed.
problem. But if you have someone else that just says, well, I don't have any big fancy degrees, I don't have any certifications, but I know how to fix this problem. Here you go, and fixes this problem. This is the kind of person I want, because this is the person that seeks the knowledge, not just because they want some diploma or something like that, but because they are actively curious. They actually want to work in this area, so they like what they do, especially. Okay, and these are the kind of people that you want to hire. Okay,
Yes,
many
yes.
and you've seen this. There are many people who are not. They leave high school, especially here in Portugal. There's a lot of people
Mhm.
that leave high school with IT knowledge already, because in the last 3 years of high school, you can learn about IT. You can learn about electronics as well, like it
Yes,
was my
indeed.
case. But some of these people, for multiple reasons in life, they cannot go to university. They might be financial, social, family reasons. I don't know, many reasons, and they don't go to university. They start working immediately, but they are very knowledgeable because they learned over time how to do this. And these are the kind of people that many people discard them because, oh yeah, you don't have the necessary degrees for this. It's not about that. It's about the knowledge. It's about learning. I'll give you one example of this. How many people do you know have AI degrees?
AI
And
degrees. I really don't know. I really don't
probably
know.
very close to zero, right? Because
Close
the
to
thing
zero,
is,
yeah.
AI, you've seen AI is very trending the last few days, the last
Yes,
few
of
years,
course.
2 years. So we've had OpenAI stuff, but there's OpenAI, there's Llama from Facebook. So if you
Yes.
don't know what a llama is, let me explain. You have a camel, two humps, and then you have a dromedary, one hump, and then you have a llama, no humps. Okay, so those are the kind of animals that you care about. Okay, Llama from Facebook is a bit bad. Okay, so the quality is not that good if you tried it,
Hmm.
but it's still a large language model. People use it, people
Yes,
try
yes,
it. There,
it is.
there's a lot of large language models that people use nowadays for a lot of different reasons, and they are very legitimate. How many of those people actually have university degrees in AI? Zero. Okay,
Yeah.
because it's so very new, it's impossible. People in the future will have it. That's not a problem there. But most of the people now they don't. Okay, how many people had mechanical engineering degrees when they invented the car? I would say zero or very close to
Hmm.
zero, right?
Hmm.
So same for spaceships and things like that. Any rockets, any shuttles and things. Pretty much zero. This was something that was the university degrees came after the knowledge was acquired and sharing the knowledge with the next people. So
Yes.
obviously,
Let me, sorry,
this is
André,
this is
let
a
me
very
just
strange
share a
comment.
story with you. I think this is important, okay? I have a lean specialist and management. This is very important. I learned about when a big photographer company launched a very good product, and the photography was amazing. But unfortunately, there was a bug, and the machine was very expensive, and the pictures start appear black, and they don't know why. They don't know why. They spend a lot of money trying
Did they
to
not remove
to
like the
reach.
the
Yes,
shot?
yes. And one guy said, "Oh, I have an idea. This guy don't have a degree, okay?" And I saw my daughter to take a picture, and I realized uh, she didn't take I don't know
The
the term for English,
the
Uh,
the thing,
yes,
the cap,
yes,
whatever. Yeah, yeah,
from the
exactly.
camera. That's because the photography was black. And that was the problem.
Exactly.
Lean needs to find strategies to, let's say, a beep or something, or your lens is covered or something like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
And it's very important. But this is a very important topic because you talk about human people that want to learn.
Most are human. Most are human. Let's
Yes,
say.
yes. But we have a problem, so I think. We have corporations that are building machines, okay? And right now, the people that are starting and they want to to get some know-how and some time at the job usually are not hired.
Mhm.
Uh, um, and you talk about if I find when people that have this kind of feelings, I want to learn this curiosity to go, do you hire that person without any experience?
So that is a very good question. And this is not new. I remember films from the 80s and even before that that had the same question. Oh, I go to a job, but do you have any experience? No, but I need this job to get the experience. Okay, great. You get the
Yes.
experience, you go and work somewhere else. So we spend our time training you, and then you go for the competition. So this is a
Yeah.
bad thing. Now, in the 70s, even before that, 70s, I don't know, I wasn't born. during that time, so I don't know. But during that time, people had a job for life. Okay, so they
Yeah.
studied high school, maybe sometimes not even that, and they had a job for life. Many people went to university; they had that job for life. How boring is that? So, and please be aware that I know people that spend their whole lives in the same job. It must be a bit boring. At least I would
Yeah.
not enjoy it for myself. Um, but every person is different. Some people have an attitude where they like the same repetitive things. Other people like different things every time, and we have to respect that. However, the world has changed a bit. So up to the 80s, maybe a bit to the 90s, it was normal for people to have the same job for life. And this is okay. Some people prefer to change from time to time, but other people that I actually know spend their whole lives always in the same job. That's fair. The job is a means to an end to get money to live and to do fun things, outside of the work. Other people find fulfillment in having a good job where they can say at the end of the day, yeah, I did this today. Oh, I did something different
Mhm.
today. I did something, okay, that improved people's lives, that did some change to the world, whatever. Always, all of us will do some changes to the world. They're always going to be very small, okay? No matter how much we try, all of our changes are always going to be very small. But we do change things, okay? I'll come back to this in a second. But one of the things is that people expected to have a job, and there were still people from my generation, from the late 90s, where they went to university,
Mhm.
that said, I finished this degree and I have a guaranteed job for life. That's not how things work, okay?
Yes.
I
Yes.
went I went to engineering because I know that in my case I would have not a job for life, but jobs for life. Okay.
Okay.
Because I would not be guaranteed a specific job, but I would be guaranteed that if I lose this job for some reason, company goes bankrupt, so many different reasons, I would be able to find another job quickly. Okay.
Yes.
I didn't choose this. I didn't choose engineering because, oh, it's a safe job. And people do. Okay. People choose because it's a safer job than something
Yes.
else that
Yes.
they
Yes.
like to do. And that is kind of wrong. Okay, people should choose because or for what they like. But then again, it's a strategy decision. As long as you are guaranteed to be paid something, even if you don't like the job, then you can spend your free time chasing after your dream of doing something different. And it's not right, it's not wrong, it's just different. Okay,
I totally
I'm very
agree.
lucky.
Yeah.
You are very lucky that we work in areas that we like. Okay, so we
Yeah.
like IT.
Indeed.
It's
Yeah.
fun. Okay, it's fun. But if I had to work, well, delivering pizzas, like I mentioned,
Mhm.
it's a job that I would find boring after a while, which I did pretty much after a month. But this was always the same repetitive job. But it had advantages and disadvantages. Here's an advantage. At the end of the day, you've had many jobs where you have to deliver some product, some software, something, whatever,
Mhm.
some solution, and you spend 3 months, 6 months doing that. Okay, and the level of stress grows over time, right? So it gradually increases over time up until that limit date, and then suddenly
Yes. Yes.
stress is over when you deliver it, right? That accumulation gives you a lot of nightmares if you are a developer, or even if you are, let's say, the
Yes. Indeed.
project manager,
Yeah.
right? that gives you a lot of headaches during the night, some dreams about, oh, how do I fix this, the developer dreams, or stress about deadline dreams, etc. So you are going to have a lot of those. If you are delivering pizzas, I can tell you that I didn't have that problem. I had one problem: getting up early, or whatever time it was, to be able to be on time, because they were very picky about being on time, which doesn't happen that much in IT. No one actually cares as long as you get the job done within 6 months. So you can be late as much as you want. Within 6 months, it has to be done. But there are people who actually prefer zero stress at the end of the day, and
Mhm.
just have whatever fun they need to have, and then they know that the next day they have to wake up at a certain hour, go to work, and just do things on a regular basis. I know you and me, we're not like this. We like to do different things every time. It's
Yes. Yes.
fun, it's different, but there are people who prefer it like that. Again, nothing wrong with that. How do you get a job in the current economy, in the current market?
Yes. In the
It's
current
actually
era.
not.
Yes.
It's really not different from what it was 40, 50 years ago. You still have jobs. The difference is that jobs aren't that permanent. but you still have the same kind of jobs. If you want to go to a job and learn about things beforehand, so you learn in university, is that useful? Most companies will say not that much. Okay, I'm pretty sure that CrowdStrike calamity that happened a few months ago was caused by the guy that just left university, went to work for CrowdStrike, and suddenly deployed that on a Friday or something, whenever it was, and then crashed the computers in the entire world. Okay, we had that problem. I think it was with McAfee 10 years ago. Same problem. The company was sold to Intel because of that. So again, not sure what's happening with CrowdStrike now, but probably a similar logic. And that tells us that something is wrong with this. Okay, because you are getting people out of university assuming that they already know, but they don't know. You have to train
Yes,
them. You
yes.
cannot assume things. But then you have the question is, what will the people do after they know the training? Will they go to a different job? Well, that doesn't depend on the people. That exclusively depends on the company. Okay, and if you have
Yeah.
evil companies, of course, there's many evil companies. If you have an evil company that just wants to get work done and works you crazy hard. So here in Europe, of course, maximum would be 40 hours per week, maybe a bit more in some cases. But most companies are not allowed to do that. In the United States, you have people who work 80 hours a week, which is a completely crazy number.
Yes,
And they
yes.
say, oh, you need to work. And then once you're done working, once you're exhausted, we'll fire you and get someone else. That doesn't work because people will want to move from that job to some other job. And what you mentioned about work-life balance was actually very important here. It's not that you need to have a fixed schedule. People confuse work-life balance with a schedule.
Hmm.
It's not the same thing, okay? You can have a completely random schedule, but still say, look, this day I'm going to spend with my family. I'm going to go with my kids, with my cat, with my, I don't know, whatever, dog, whatever. I'm going to go and do things, okay? And I have to work on the weekend because there's some urgency. That's fine. I'll work on the weekends, but I'll have some free time with my cats later on, okay? Not really a problem. We can do this. The difficulty is if you have a company that expects everything from you and then doesn't expect an outlook for the future
Hmm.
where you're going to progress in terms of knowledge, in terms of scheduling, in terms of work-life balance, in terms of culture in general. Okay, that would be the biggest difficulty for any person keeping themselves to maintaining themselves in that company, because people will not want to be in that company. Okay, if you have a company, and I'm not going to mention names, we've mentioned a few names of companies already, but many multinational companies actually have a good relationship with people, so they insist that people, you can work from home, you can work from other places, so they have a good relationship with that, and that is important, by the way. Let me add to this, and you know this as well because we are both from Portugal. Here in Portugal and in Europe in general, people have had a lot of adaptation during the pandemic, but this wasn't
Hmm.
as hard as everyone else. In fact, this was quite pleasant. Oh, everyone now
Yes,
needs
yes.
to work from home. You mean I'm not going to spend 1 hour in public transportation? You mean I'm not going to spend 1 hour in traffic getting to Lisbon or to Porto or whatever? This is not a bad thing. So I spend more time with my family, which
It's a
leads to a
plus.
lot of divorces, but that's a side note. But the thing is, a lot of people, even when the pandemic was over, still worked from home. They go to the workplace once or twice a week, which is a sanity necessity because you need to talk to other people, but it's not but if you want, as you mentioned, if you want to work from a bar at the beach, if you want to do be anywhere in the world, beyond the moon, if you want to, if you have internet there,
Yes, yes.
you can just work from anywhere, and that is the point. So if that is a pleasant environment for you to work with, you're going to work with that company because that company allows you to work from home, or that company allows you to get not the best pay in the world. It's not about getting better payments. It's
Hmm.
about better conditions. Okay, there was actually a lot of studies about this. That let's say, oh, I want to get paid 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, whatever the number is. There is a number, while that people, and depends on the country, of course. There is a number that people say, well, with that kind of money, I'll be very happy to work in this company because I like what I'm doing, or at least I don't hate it, and this is the kind of money that provides me an incentive not to move to a different company, okay, where the work might not be as good, so I don't want to risk it. Again, different types of people.
Hmm.
So if that's the case, there is actually a number that every person will say, I will continue to work here, even if it is €1 million or something. But there is a number where people will say, I enjoy working here. This number is okay for me to live. I don't need to get a bigger number,
Yes,
or I
yes.
don't need to progress, let's say, to a different job description, or even higher up in the chain, like hierarchy. Some people don't want to be bosses. They just want to do their jobs and enjoy it. Okay, it's not about vertical progression. It's about work-life balance progression, let's
Yes,
call it like
yes.
that. So your questions from before, I think, were finally answered. Not sure
Yes,
if
yes.
people will like my answer, but
No, no, you did a very good job to recap the questions. But
okay.
I was here, listen to you,
Mhm.
and I'm learning with you. Okay, because I
Well,
consider, yes, I'm learning.
you
I'm
know the
learning
same things
between
as
the
I
lines.
do, so maybe not that much.
Yes, yes, yes. But I'm learning, and I think we have so much material to read between the lines here for restarting today
Mhm.
in this confusion of the world of the technology. The very good tips.
We need to
But
get back to contents. We need to get back to
yes, yes.
contents. But please continue.
Now we are almost ending. I'm going to. Uh, Start with some informal crazy questions just to end, okay?
Let me just finish something that I ended up not saying, because of course
Okay.
when you start talking, you talk about everything other than the things that you ask. So, to answer your question about what kind of sources of information should you get, first of all, you need to guarantee you have curiosity. Okay. Yes, the saying says that curiosity kills cats, but that's not actually true with humans. Okay. So having curiosity about things, sometimes I just see something on TV and I have a computer in front of me because, or at least a phone, and I'm like, they said this term. What the hell is this? And then you go and find out. If you are a developer, like a programmer,
Mhm.
let me give you an example. It is nice for you to learn 2 or 3 programming languages every year. Okay, I don't mean you have to be an expert at that. I just mean you have to understand them. Okay, there's a lot of
Yes.
new stuff every year. Most of it is awful. It's complete crap. Okay, so every week you get a new JavaScript, client-side framework. We have Angular, we have React, we have Vue, we have so many others. Honestly, just pick one and get it over with. Okay, they're all pretty much the same in the
Yes,
end.
yes.
It's
I have
why.
a very good example for that. Okay.
Go
Uh,
ahead, go ahead.
I started with VBA, VB, and so on,
Mhm.
and VB.NET. And
Very good.
we realized that C sharp just appeared, and it's a good thing. But
Yeah.
the time. Oh, we have this project, we have to do it in C sharp, okay? So I have to do an effort estimation for that. And okay, I'm going to have to learn to do this and to do that and to do that and to do that. And I did for about 2 projects in VB.NET, and finally my first project in C sharp, and it was a big change. But André, just
Just
to
for reference,
finish, okay,
let me just say this. In the beginning, 20 years ago, Visual Basic .NET and C
yes,
Sharp, which is obviously also .NET, were very different from each other. Okay, but nowadays, if you go and open up Visual
yes,
Studio
because
2022 or the future one,
mhm,
2025 or something, what you're actually going to get is that both Visual Basic .NET and C Sharp are so similar together that
mhm,
you start programming in one and you completely forget that you are programming C Sharp or
yes,
Visual
yes,
Basic. It's only the constructs with the parentheses for ifs and fors and things that you actually notice. And that kind of integration between the two languages was very good. You can still program in one if you prefer, you can program in the other if you prefer.
yes,
And
yes.
although I don't recommend it, most companies you can actually have projects where you have both, and then you just need to
Mhm.
adjust the compiling options to be able to compile the two. But I would recommend don't do that in a normal project. But you can program in one or the other or any of the other .NET languages, and you will still do fine because most of the things are common. The .NET framework is common, of course. Okay, so that
Yes, yes.
that is a part to consider.
And Microsoft is doing a really good job just because they are listening to people. Okay. Uh, I can give you an example. Okay. Um,
Windows
a-
11.
as you know, I started in SharePoint for so many years ago, and we almost there was no documentation, and we almost have to do reverse engineer uh, to know how the guys do that and how to deploy that.
Yep,
And
yep.
nowadays we have the online SharePoint Online. This is a SaaS, okay, as you know,
Much easier.
and Microsoft just, I think, realized we need help for communities to get engaged with this and help us to develop and give ideas to this. And
Exactly.
today, Microsoft it's the first party, and developers are the third parties. And we have many open source projects, and that they are very good. And this is the way to work, okay, for at least for me. But we have plenty of
Open
material
source,
here.
let me just mention this.
That's it.
So there are people who like open source, people who don't like open source. Open source is very important because this will guarantee that the knowledge that is acquired, same as with science,
Mhm.
engineering, etc., there is knowledge that's acquired and then people reuse it. And then they build more things. So having open source is especially important because privately sourced things can only run within the same company, can only improve
Mhm.
within the same company. So that is a plus. However, the same that I mentioned about a lot of different frameworks for client side, JavaScript, and things like
Yeah,
that,
sure, go on. Yeah.
there is also a lot of trash in terms of open source projects. Okay, so we
Yes.
need to consider that out of all of the open source projects, and I'm randomly saying a number, only about 5% of them will actually be useful. Okay, because the other ones are projects that start and then stop, and there's no follow up on that
Yes,
project.
yes, yes,
Someone developed that for university and then put it on GitHub, and suddenly let's hope more people will use it and things like that.
yes,
I've
yes.
had experience with some projects like that. Some of them took off, others really no one cared. The point here is that when you are trusting a company like Microsoft, like the competition, Oracle, other companies, etc., you are trusting that they will safeguard everything for you. If you are using open source, you are trusting that the community will help you. And sometimes that is actually not the case. Okay, for things like PHP and even usages like CMSs like
Mhm.
WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, etc. Then, of course, you have community help for most things. But what if it is a specific project? That is not helpful so much. And we were talking about AI before, and AI is a good example of this. There's so much, codes, open source code for
Yes, yes.
AI
Like
that
mushrooms.
you will not be able to learn all of it. And let me just
Yes.
get back to one more thing about learning. The question that you had about learning. If people are watching this and thinking, where do I start? Which is always a legitimate question. The answer is, first of all, be very curious about everything that you can learn. So that is always the first step. If you're not curious, you're not going to learn unless someone forces you.
Yes, yes.
So that is not going to work. If you are learning things, in that case, it is a good idea to acquire as much knowledge as possible, try out things. But one of the things that you are going to see is you cannot try everything. So I talk to you, you talk to other people talk to me as well. So we all talk to each other and we say, have you tried this open source framework for this? Oh, it's good, it's bad. I have bad ideas about this. I have good. So we're not actually going to be able to try out all, let's say, open source frameworks for
Yes,
uh,
yes.
for client-side JavaScript, okay, so
Yeah.
Angular, React, etc. We cannot
Yes.
try all of these. It's impossible. So,
Actually, React, it's a library, not a framework.
okay, let's call it what you want. That's okay. But think about this. Whatever you want to try, you have a limited amount of time that you can
Yes,
try everything.
that is true.
So
Yeah.
if you want to try everything that's on GitHub at this moment as a human, you might wait until the year 9999 or something like that. So it's going to be so much time to actually try out everything yourself that's impossible. What can you do? Someone else will recommend something for you, and you're like, oh, I like this, or I searched for this, someone else recommended that. So this is kind of the way that people go. In a way, this is good because you have more choice. In a way, the extra choice will leave you with so much wasted time trying to choose something and this is something that has actually happened to me. I've actually I remember a few years ago, 15 years ago, we were looking for some way to stream video with HD video. And at the time, YouTube wasn't using this. So YouTube was using only smaller videos. And we had to do full HD videos over the internet, over a web browser. And this was not an easy task. So we looked into streaming software, and I spent 2 or 3 weeks just testing out all the software that existed, and some open source, some paid. And then I figured out, oh, this is so bad because none of this does what I want. And the open source stuff seems interesting to manipulate. So I pretty much, in the end, got so fed up with trying all of these things that none of them worked as we wanted. And adapting was so hard that I decided, oh, let's spend a week developing a completely new open source streaming system. And it took me a week, well, maybe 2, I'm not sure anymore, but a week or 2 to develop some open source streaming system. And that was actually used a lot around the world for a while. So this was specific for specific formats of videos, but this was used all around the world. And this was because, I'm just tired of trying out things that do not suit my purpose. So I need something for me, so I'll develop it myself. Is that adding to the noise? Yes, there is one more open source project. But in the end, that solved the problem.
Consistent. You are being consistent in what you say at the beginning of the conversation. You are being very consistent. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that actually solved the problem. So it's not perfect. So if it takes less time to develop something new than to search for something that actually solves the problem, and remember the left pad fiasco. You remember this? So
the left? No, I don't remember.
So there was a package managing repository thing called npm that you can actually go to npm.
Yes, the npm.
And leftpad was one of the packages, one of the libraries that's available there. And that leftpad simply added spaces before zeros so that you can align them to the right or something. Now that thing was the basis of millions of other packages because they all added that as a dependency. And the guy that was doing this, some American guy, was very upset because he created some other software as well, also open source. And they in npm, in the repository, they removed that software because, and this was 10 years ago, right? Yes. So he was very upset because the other guys removed it because someone complained that they had some copyright claim or trademark claim, something like that.
I remember that, yes.
So they actually didn't, but the npm people, instead of just looking into this and deciding whether that thing had merit or not to remove that name, they just removed it. So pretty much they can remove any name if you create an open source project with whatever name it is, and then I register it 10 years later, they will remove it because now I'm registered, so they are afraid of lawyers. That makes no sense, of course. When that happened, the guy decided to remove the left pads software. So pretty much think about the foundations of a building. If you remove the foundations, the whole building crumbles. And for 2 days, no one was able to use anything on the internet because that pretty much crumbled the entire internet that used npm packages, libraries, whatever you want to call them.
Dependency, yeah.
Yeah, so someone else created a different one. So you have this on YouTube, on Wikipedia. They explained what happened, etc. But this was incredibly fun that for 2 days, no one was able to use it. At the time, I didn't use NPM, so I didn't really care. But I was finding it so funny that everyone else in the world was having problems other than me. But this is the thing. You are depending so much on so many things that you are not looking at the basics, okay? So you are depending on a simple function that takes one or two lines of code. Maybe it's not
Yes, yes.
optimized, but it's like one or two lines of codes. You can do it in one or two lines of code. Why are you getting some crazy library from someone on the other side of the world to fix this? So one or two things. Either you copy that code and you use it in a library of your own, which is very acceptable, okay? Code is
Yes.
open source, you can do it. Or simply, create something from you. Don't just reuse something that has one line of code that all your projects depend on, and suddenly, someone on the other side of the world affects your project, okay? So
Yes, yes.
this
I,
is
I,
one of the issues, right? This is one of the issues that you have with development these days. And things like the CrowdStrike, things like this one for the npm, but many others as well. These are all problems with dependencies
yes.
that you are depending on so many other people, when 20 years ago you'd say, but that's absurd. Why the hell are we depending on a project from the other side of the world when this takes like one line of code to do? What the hell? Are you that lazy that you need something like this, right? So the thing is, even for instance, even things like jQuery, okay? I recognize that jQuery is a really nice library that's very practical, and I use it a lot, okay? But
Hmm.
it's so massively big, okay? And sometimes you need to put up a website with one or two very simple things from jQuery. You
Yes.
don't use jQuery. You copy paste the things from jQuery or create your own, put that in your own JavaScript, and just use it. Why go completely crazy with something that could be extremely simple? Okay. So this is actually one of the problems that we have. And we were talking about stupidity before, we were talking about complexity. And this is one of the things where people complicate things that are simple. Okay. When you go to a bridge and try to build a bridge, you are building the bridge exactly with the right screws or the right things. You're not going to build a bridge and say, oh, I'm going to just leave this out here like dangling something because we might add an extension in the future. No, it's a bridge. You value security. You want to build a bridge exactly as it was constructed with this material, not something hanging out because it might be interesting for the future or for a different functionality. That's never going to happen. You want an exact object. Okay. So this is what I think also is missing in this infrastructure. And by the way, this is actually good that we are talking about this, because not many people talk about this kind of thing. Okay. It's important to
Sure.
understand, especially when people do DevOps, and you talked about Lean before. When people talk about DevOps, they think, oh, we need to do everything DevOps. Um, how complex is your project? Is it a simple project where you just build a simple website and it's done? So
Yes.
how much complexity do you need in your DevOps infrastructure? Do you need like, uh, you know, 4 or 5 different environments that I've seen in some cases, or you just need like development production? Is that enough? Okay, do you need so many of them? Because that adds to the complexity of the amount of work that you have to do, and sometimes you really don't need it. Okay,
Yes, yes.
keep things simple. Okay, and I think that people are so worried about the formality of DevOps and things. These are still important, by the way. It's the same as building a bridge. If you don't have
Hmm.
scaffolding to hold the bridge while it's being constructed, good luck with that. Okay, bridges do crash, but if you just need the necessary scaffolding. Okay, if you're building a bridge over a river, you're not going to scaffold the whole river before you actually build the bridge. You just scaffold the area, right?
Yes,
That's
yes.
all you need.
We
Okay.
must have a balance here. We
Okay, we
have
need to move on.
we
Yeah.
have the KISS concept that is keep it simple and stupid because it works. Because it works. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
there is no stupid question. Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. There are a
Okay.
lot of stupid answers, as we've discovered, but there aren't
Yes,
any
yes,
stupid
yes, yes.
questions.
Of course, of course. But we
Anyway.
are we are almost ending. This webcast will be provided on YouTube, and
Yeah.
maybe we are going to do um, a webcast somewhere just for the sound. Okay, because this was a very interesting topic and conversation. Andre, Andre, I have other questions, but we are
We can talk
ending.
for much longer. Exactly.
Yes, yes. I have to thank you for your time. And I learned a lot of with you in this conversation, and I hope it makes sense. This webcast is projected to be monthly. We have a guest for
You will
next
get more
month.
victims as well.
Yes, yes, I have some victims. You were the first victim.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, yes, you were the first one. So, Andre,
No, but this is
thank you
very
very
good.
much. Thank you very much. And
So, my
cool
friend, thank you,
conversation. Nice
especially
talking
thank
to
you very
you.
much for having me in this webcast. We are remotely. I think that in the end of the webcast, people will see that we start talking on top of each other, which is because of the the
Yes,
lag between the two of us. But that's fine. I think that this is a good initiative, and actually talking about these kind of things that most people don't. People say, let's talk about a specific technology in question, but they don't usually talk about, oh, what's good advice is about this, about that. Actually, there aren't any. Okay, it's impossible. Whatever happens will change in 2 years' time, just to
yes,
conclude.
yes.
So it's always going to be very impossible. But the idea here is that, learn as much as you can, be as much curious as you can about all of these kind of things. And in terms of acquiring knowledge, well, you have to choose. You cannot learn everything. It's impossible. So choose something that you like. Okay. And, a lot of people are saying, oh, we're AI experts and things like that. We've seen this, right? Everyone's an AI expert. Oh, what do you do with AI? Oh, I use ChatGPT. Yeah. That's not an AI expert. That's an AI user.
User,
Okay.
yeah.
That's an end user, AI end user. Okay. So if you want to work in IT, if you want to work with system administration, with development, and I know that João, you have all of this knowledge as well. So whatever area you want, so system administration, development, data science and AI,
Mhm.
cybersecurity, we talked about this as well, or anything non-technical, whatever it is, you're not going to learn everything. Okay. Ask any lawyer, do you know everything? No, they don't. They know a specific area. Okay. So same as well, there's an exception to this. You have vets; they know everything. Okay, so you know that doctors only know about humans, which is one type of animal. Okay, you go to
Yes.
the vet, whatever animal you take, they will know. Okay, if it's an anteater, if it's a llama, if it's a dromedary, they will know how to fix the animal. Okay,
You
so
have Dr. Pool. Dr. Pool, for instance.
apart from the veterinaries, pretty much you have to choose, and that choice will affect you. It's not irreversible, so you can always learn a bit more and go to a different area. A lot of people change areas completely, but it is something that you need to consider. What am I going to do in the next 2 years? What am I going to learn? And then every 6 months you need to reevaluate these kind of things, right? Anyway, I'm sure that your next guests will come up with different, in 6 months' time, you'll have a guest
Perspective.
that will
Yes.
say something else with a different perspective. That's very healthy. Okay. So hopefully in the next guests we'll share some more knowledge that will be more up to date. But in any case, don't disregard the basic stuff like 80s and 70s stuff, because that is still the basis of everything. You have electricity at home because some people 200 years ago started to use electricity. Okay, it hasn't changed that much, to be honest.
Yes.
Okay, so if you want to learn it, learn what happened 200 years ago and you understand electricity. Anyway, João, once again, thank you very much for having me
Thank you,
for the
Andre.
first episode. I think this is quite fun. I look forward to seeing the upcoming episodes as well. Okay.
Yeah, okay, okay. Today it's 3 of the October, okay, and of 2024, just for the record. And once again, thank you, and Andre, and
Thank you very much, my
cool.
friends. Hope to talk to you
Thank
soon.
you.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Okay. This is the time that we show this. And oh,
Boom.
actually, this is in the beginning. This is in the beginning. Okay.
You
Okay.
forgot.
So you can do bloopers with this if you want to.
Oh
Okay.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Bye
So
bye.
let's wrap this up.